approval for the March 2024 meeting votes.
This is Candace. I'd make that motion, Anthea.
I second. James.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
I can't hear anybody else. Let me just make sure my camera's on. Did we get a motion for approval? We did. I see Candace saying yes. Is anybody talking by any chance?
I was.
Okay, now I can hear you. Thank you.
Candace made a motion, Anthea.
Great. Thank you, Candace. Did we have a second?
James.
Thank you, James, for the second. All those in favor signified by aye or hand raise.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you all. Next up, I see Allison. Allison, if you can please lead us in the director comments.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Anthea. I am calling in from the governor's mansion, the Carriage House, because we are kicking off our transformational planning for our department. It's very exciting. And so I had to break away to talk with all of you, and I'm excited about that because we're doing is our strategic planning for the next 3 years, which will really lay the foundation and groundwork for the organizational planning that we're doing as a division and then also as a department. Very exciting. So we met today with the executive director's office and the other divisions within DOLA to really kick off this great work. And I'm excited that a lot of it's focused on being a proactive leader in housing department-wide. So many exciting things to come. But today I also wanted to focus on some of our current efforts. We'll be rolling out soon toward greater transparency and clarity, a new award letter that's going to include our timelines to get us to contracts. And so that's really meant to, help provide that transparency with our borrowers and our grantees, really laying that foundation for what we both need to do to make that 90-day timeline that we're aspiring to with our directives through the executive order and then also with our wildly important goals. So that will be coming out. It is, we plan to do that actually with this first round with our awardees for this month. And so excited to hear how folks like that new transparency that we're working toward. We're also going to have our next GAP advisory meeting on April 23rd, where we're vetting many of these different efforts that we're going through. So much to come. Very excited to see these changes and working with our partners and moving these things forward. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Allison?
Thank you, Terry.
Sounds like very exciting news, Allison. Glad to hear that you're with the governor today, working through all of these initiatives, and thank you for the update.
Well, we're at his mansion. We're not actually with the actual governor. We're using this space for our transformational planning, which is fantastic.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for the update.
Thank you.
Okay, we have 4 projects today to review during the project application review stage. We're going to go ahead and start with Village at Homewood Point Phase 2, and presenting is Fallon Miller.
Thanks, Anthea. So with us today is Andrew Olson to present on behalf of the project.
Thank you, Fallon. Good afternoon, and we want to thank the Division of Housing and the State Housing Board for the opportunity to present the Village at Homewood Point Phase 2, an 83-unit independent senior affordable housing project with 40s, 50s, and 60s AMI. Wanted to thank Fallon and Ashley Hertzler for their work on our application. And especially during this difficult kind of financial environment, we're really happy to be at the place where we are now. Our team is Mark Hendricks, who's been developing affordable housing in Colorado for the last 25 years, and Chad Wright, who's the executive director of the Colorado Springs Housing Authority. My name, as Fallon said, is Andrew Olson, and we also work with Julie Frank, and we've been working with Mark for the last 5 years. Our team's really excited to present this site, to dedicate this site for affordable housing. It's one of the few remaining vacant lots near downtown, and it's right next door to the Village at Homewood Point Phase 1, creating more opportunities for seniors to connect and build camaraderie. And that's a really important thing as in the senior community. Mark and Chad recently developed the Shooks Run Apartments, which is 40-unit family property in Colorado Springs back in 2021. And Village at Homewood Point is going to be built with the same structure. They're co-developers with Mark and MJT Properties, Inc., providing all the financial guarantees and be primarily responsible for ensuring the project's completion. The Housing Authority currently owns the site and will be the 100% interest owner in the project. We've been meeting weekly with the architect Roseman and Associates, and they're about 95% complete with the construction drawings, and we plan to submit for the building permit next week. Shaw Construction, who Mark has built projects with for the last 15 years, has been active in the design meetings, and they're ready to start construction as soon as we close. Chaffa is going to be the construction and permanent lender on the project. Right now, we're waiting to receive the initial draft of the limited partnership agreement from the tax credit investor. And I think it's safe to say that all hands on deck we're driving ahead for a July, August closing. And just want to say thank you for the opportunity to present this project for funding, and we really appreciate your consideration.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Any questions from the board? Sam.
Thank you, Anthea. Andrew, thanks for the presentation. Looks like a really nice project. Had a couple of questions. One is, it was mentioned in the write-up, and you mentioned it in your presentation, that the Colorado Springs Housing Authority was going to be 100% owner of the project. Yet, you know, it's going to be a tax credit project, right? And so really they're going to be a 0.01% owner, I'm assuming, initially?
Yes, initially for the first 15 years, and then the MJT and Mark only have a development interest, and the Housing Authority ultimately holds the interest of the the ownership interest once the tax credit investors bought out. Okay, and then in the write-up it also said that Mark was the GP. So does that mean he has an ownership interest as well then? Not in the general partnership. So he just has a development interest in the general partnership, and Chad has 100%. That's where we talk about the 100% ownership interest of the general partner, which, like you're saying, is for the first 15 years, that 0.01%. Great, thanks. And then the debt service coverage ratio was fairly low. Was that already approved by the investor and all the lenders? Yes, all the lenders and the investor have worked. They understand kind of the current financial environment right now and the requirements of to kind of maximize the funding in every way that we can. And so, yes, everybody has approved a total debt service coverage of all three mortgages to be 1.05, as long as the Chaffa primary mortgage was above 1.15. Okay. Thanks so much.
And I have a question. This might be more for Fallon or Andrew. I don't know if I see Andrew on, or perhaps Allison, but since this is THLF and it is a hard funding source, is there any opportunity when when funding is available and funding is needed, if there are soft funds available, could it switch, or is this set in stone? It's going to be this funding source. It will be hard pay. I just ask because, you know, ideally it would be great if we could get some soft funds in here.
I'll
So-
take that one. Once we contract with this, it will indeed be a THLF loan. It will be eligible for, you know, refinance or reapplication at resyndication, as, you know, if needed, as part of, you know, kind of a payoff of the project at that point, but not, you know, 2-3 years from now, unless there is an as of yet unpublished special funding opportunity that, you know, we get something we haven't thought of yet. But business as usual, no, there will not be an opportunity for kind of like a refinance or a substitute funding source in the near future.
Okay. And it might be helpful if we could, at the top of the next state housing board meeting that we have, get an update on the funding sources. And I know you send us that budget, but maybe a verbal update from you or from Allison next time, just to talk through it, so all the board members have a good understanding of the buckets that are there and how
Yep.
they're emptying out quickly.
Yeah, no, happy to do that, and I'll make a note of creating a slide and doing that as part of the updates next meeting.
Thanks, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for the presentation.
Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Next up is Rifle Apartments, and presenting is Andrew Atlee.
Thanks, Anthea. To present Rifle Apartments, we've got Giovanni Butler from Evergreen Redevelopment. Giovanni, take it away.
Thanks all. Thanks, Andrew. Really appreciate you guys all taking the time today. You know, we've been working on a project here in Rifle. Andrew, I was looking back, and, you know, we were emailing back in 2021 about trying to do something here in the city of Rifle. So we're excited to be moving forward. What we have here is a 60-unit project that was awarded 9% low income housing tax credits in June of 2023. We've been moving forward on this to bring what will be the largest family affordable housing project in the city of Rifle. It's going to double the amount of affordable housing for families in the city of Rifle, the first project in 20 years. You know, it's really important to note here that the need in the county is just so great, and the housing authority, they have a wait list of over 600 people that would qualify for this housing. So we've been moving ahead, and we've got CHFA as the perm lender here, Colorado Clean Energy Fund, they're in the capital stack. We've been committed and approved by them as well. Our construction lender will be KeyBank. They're committed. We're going through DD and closing calls with them now, and we're looking to submit for a permit in 2 weeks to the city of Rifle, at which time they should revert a permit to us within 30 days. So we're on really good track to be looking at a end of May, early June closing. And with that, I'll welcome any questions that anybody may have.
Thank you so much, Giovanni. Any questions from the board? Sam?
Thanks, Anthea. Giovanni, thanks for the presentation. Had a few questions. The land itself, was it purchased at an arm's length transaction?
Yes, sir. So it'll be purchased at financial closing, arm's length transaction. Yes, private seller.
Okay, great, thanks. The project is receiving, or the recommendation for funding is fairly rich at $133,000 per unit. And you're also receiving 14 vouchers from the Garfield Housing Authority. Are you able to create any 30% units without those vouchers?
The vouchers are a big part of having those 30% units. You know, it's just being in a rural county. there's not a lot of local funds. It's really hard to put these projects together. When you look at other projects that have been built in rural counties in Colorado, you don't get but 30, 40 units at a time. And with us to bring some legitimate scale to downtown Rifle, we're going to bring 100 folks to the largest undeveloped parcel in the city of Rifle. That's kind of exciting. But yes, we understand that it is a little bit higher ask than maybe what is usual.
And at the same time, you're only deferring 20% of the developer fee. Can you speak
Part
to
of that is really based on the property doesn't put off that much cash. I mean, there's not enough cash flow to really defer much more fee. We would like to. I mean, we always try to approach these projects with contributing as much as we can, and with that, it's just there's not enough really there. I think that's why Andrew and I had to get creative with this capital stack was really to meet the debt service coverage that we currently have, along with the deferred fee that is there.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks. The write-up also mentioned that you applied for a transformational housing loan from Jaffa, but that was denied. Can you
Yes,
tell the reasons why?
Yes, sir. So actually that was Prop 123 funds we were going for, the LIHTC gap financing. And at the time, we didn't quite have the terms for this set of loans figured out. So we couldn't say with confidence what our debt service coverage was going to be at that time. So we were unfortunately not awarded those funds, but we were able to figure it out to get here today. So.
Okay. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Giovanni, I'm going to add on a few questions there. Total development cost per unit, $479,766. That's really high. This is in Rifle, I understand, labor, etc. Can you talk a little bit about, what type of value engineering you've done, if you've quoted this with several GCs, and if you've explored modular?
Yeah, so, the construction costs, as you mentioned, I mean, I'm looking at the number right now with owner contingency. We're at $326 per unit. I mean, it's just expensive to build in Garfield County. There's only 2 GCs really that do affordable housing work. And with that, you maybe have a few subs for the various trades. So, we're kind of battling that within Garfield County. Total development costs, the land isn't cheap. We're at $500,000 per acre on the land. And, with that, that's kind of what land is going for within Garfield County. It's just land's not cheap. It's not cheap to build. So, with that, we've been with Shaw since our LIHTC app. We were working with a Denver-based GC, and Jaffa actually wanted us to work with somebody in the Western Slope who might have a bit of a better pulse on the subs out that way. Really, it's Shaw or FCI that you have in Garfield County. And that's really the 2 kind of GCs that do the vast majority of the work. So Shaw, they have good experience with wood build structures, and they've been doing a lot of that kind of work throughout the county. So we were confident going forward with them. But yeah, it's expensive to build. I mean, it's hard to, from not only that, but the interest rates, within 1 year of this project, because we went in 2022, we were not awarded, rates went up 2%. Well, for this project, that was $1.8 million of debt capacity. So how do we figure that out? So, during that time also costs went up by about 17%. Very tough metrics to kind of battle. So, I think this is going to be good for us as we proceed to do more work within the Western Slope, because there's such a great need. But these are I mean, you're going to see more of this coming as there's more projects within the Western Slope and rural counties.
Sure, I can respect that, all those challenges as well. Did you explore modular, like specifically with some of the Idaho factories?
We haven't explored modular, and I'll tell you one thing that I've personally come into with modular, as we have explored it, is just how do we finance it? How do we finance it during construction? It's very hard to put a bunch of money up and a construction lender say, hey, we need 30-40% of the cash, and we won't have anything for 4 to 6 months. that's been kind of a discussion that financing partners we've had, that's their main concern there. So modular, I hope it comes around. Would love to do it in the future, but for this project, I think with the timing of LIHTC and carryover, we just didn't quite have the time to explore it fully.
Okay. Thank you, Giovanni. Giovanni. Any other questions from the board? Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Next up is Forest Creek Cabins, and presenting is Andrew Ackley.
Me again. So to present Forest Creek Cabins, we've got Reed McCullough with the Chaffee Housing Authority, or Chaffee Housing Trust, excuse me. Go ahead, Reed.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you for the opportunity to present this project to you all. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Chaffee Housing Trust, we're a community land trust, so we're operating on a shared equity homeownership model. We have 23 homes built to date. We've got about 24 homes in the queue just in 2024, and a bunch more on the way. This particular project, the Forest Creek Cabins, is an additional 7 potential homes on top of that. And this is a great opportunity for us here in rural Colorado. We have a owner who has been renting these out as naturally occurring low-income housing for many of the local workers. She is ready to retire and would like to pass the project on to a nonprofit to make sure that they stay affordable instead of putting them out there on the open market for short-term rentals or other such things that are popular up in this corner of the county or the state. So she came directly to us and we worked out a deal. She agreed to take a significantly lower price than what might have been offered on the market, just to make sure that these are preserved. So these are 7 cabins built at a variety of times, anywhere from 1 and 2 bedroom in the photo that you have on your screen, or the smaller ones. We have a duplex with 2 bedrooms in each of those, a 2-bedroom freestanding home, and then a 3-bedroom freestanding home. So all 7 of these are currently occupied by renters, and all 7 of them have expressed interest in purchasing the units that they are currently renting. So great opportunity for us to grab something and make it permanently affordable, and then for the Housing Trust to steward that with the community land trust model. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? Sam?
Thanks so much. Looks like another great project, and I just had one question about on the resale. What % of resale profits does the homeowner under the trust get to retain? So how do you, in other words, like wealth creation with preserving affordability?
Sure. So we've gone with the classic CLT model of 25% of the market-based appreciation going to the seller. So an appraisal at the time that they purchase it, an appraisal when they are ready to sell, and the delta between those two would be the theoretical appreciation, and they walk away with 25% of that. They also, if they make any improvements to the home, and we need to approve those just to make sure that they're not excessive, but something that's truly adding value to the home, they are able to recapture 100% of the value of the improvements that they make. So long story short, they walk out with hopefully enough money to move on to the open market or to do something else with their lives.
Thanks so much.
Any other questions? Thank you, Reed.
Thank you, Anthea.
Next up is Trails at Pagosa, and presenting is Shirley Diaz.
Good afternoon. Presenting the Trails at Pagosa Springs today is Adrian Iglesias, Chris Applequist, and Adam Morgan. Take it away, guys.
All right. Thanks, Shirley. And thanks to you and Andrew for your help underwriting this project, especially with getting creative with different, with a different source than we had originally planned on using. So this has been really, really great to work with, and thank you for that. And thanks to the board for your consideration of this project. I'm Adam Morgan. I'm a consultant on this project. I'm here with Adrian Iglesias with Generation Housing Partners, and we're really excited to bring you this much needed project to Pagosa Springs. The Trails at Pagosa Springs is going to provide 50 apartment homes in a great location for families. A study in 2022 by the Economic Development of Southwest Colorado ranked Pagosa Springs as the most expensive community in all of the Southwest. This is primarily due to the high housing costs. Market rate housing costs are just much higher than what is affordable to someone making even at 80 to 100% of AMI. Like many resort areas, Pagosa Springs housing stock is further stressed by the short-term vacation rentals and second home buyers. The Trails will help address this problem. The main highlights of the project is the location. It's adjacent to the Walmart Supercenter. Residents will have access for grocery shopping and many job opportunities there. There's also the newly completed trail connectivity to the uptown core, only a half mile to the city market, less than a half mile to the hospital. Many services are all within a half mile of this area and employment opportunities. If they need to go further, there's a transit stop that's going to be right near the site. Residents can walk to get anywhere in Pagosa Springs. So really great opportunity here. We're really excited. Yeah, I'd love to end by just saying thank you for the opportunity, and we'd love to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Adam. Any questions from the board? Sam?
Adam, I thought that was a very creative presentation, along with a creative funding stack on this project. First time I heard that
Yes.
location had a plus being located next to the Super Walmart. Interesting. My question is that the project doesn't have any traditional hard-term debt in it. That's kind of unusual. Can you explain that?
Sure. Yeah, that was, we originally looked at when we went with Chaffa, we were looking at Chaffa for the permanent loan, and it looked at their simple loan program, combining that with a HOF loan. And then the Proposition 123 funds became available. We applied for those and were successful in being awarded almost $2 million in Prop 123 funds. Now, when you got up to that level of the source, it just became easier to forego either the HOF or the simple. And in talking with Chaff and working through that, the HOF loan became the source there. A HOF loan, it is, traditionally the HOF loans are a second loan to their simple loan, but in this case, it's really just that's either the Prop 123 loan is going to be the first, or the HOF loan is going to be the first.
Okay. And then the DCR seemed very low at 109. Is that going to be acceptable to everybody?
Yeah, it's acceptable to Chaffa. We're working through that with the investor. That's a little different, and given the terms, this depends on the default terms of the THLF loan and the others. But Chaffa has confirmed they can go down to a 1.05 debt service coverage.
The deferred developer fee in the write-up had a 30-year payback. Again, kind of unusual.
Yes, yeah, we're trying. Well, hopefully that'll be shorter. We're assuming there's going to be some rental increases here, and that will help. And again, the vacancy level will be much lower than the 7% assumed. And we're going to have to put in the partnership agreement, the GP is going to have to commit to making sure that that's paid by year 15. Obviously we're hoping to get that paid much sooner than what's currently underwritten, but that's what works right now. We're just trying to make the deal work.
Mm-hmm. Maybe this question is more for the sponsor. The team looked like it had very limited local experience. Can you convince us of your ability to pull the project off? Or
sure. Yeah. Go ahead. I can speak. They've hired a really good consultant. So no, they've got a ton of experience. 30 years developing. You're right. This is their first project in Colorado, but they've done numerous projects throughout the Southwest. I mean, Adrian, you can probably chime in here, but they've done a lot, and the contractor has a lot of experience working in these mountain communities. I know they've done projects in Los Alamos, Hobbs, New Mexico, Hatch, New Mexico. They've done a lot of projects throughout the Southwest, contracting in these smaller mountain areas. And so that was part of the reason that GHP selected pavilion construction for this project.
And Adam, you are correct on that one. You know, one of their main offices for pavilion construction, they're located in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is mostly where we're going to get most of our subs to come up from, not in Colorado Springs for this project. But Pavilion has a lot of experience in this location, and that's really why we partnered up with them on this transaction.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Samuel.
Thanks, Sam.
Any other questions on the board? Okay. Thank you, Adam and Adrian.
Thank you very much.
Next up is the private activity bond application review stage. And we have one deal today. It is Eagle Villas Apartments, and presenting will be Demetra English.
Good afternoon. Thank you. As you know, the private activity bond applications are not applications that involve actual dollars that have been assigned to DOLA. These applications are simply for requests to use bond capacity for eligible purposes. And in Colorado, the eligible purposes are qualified multifamily residential projects. We have industrial development bonds, which are we use it for agricultural beginning farmers programs. And then through CHAFA, affordable single family mortgages. PAB applications are accepted in March, June, and November of each year. And this year we had an application in March from the Eagle County Housing Development Authority. Next slide, please. This slide is just a reminder of the Housing Board's role, and with a recommendation for the executive director shall make all of the allocations from the statewide balance, and her role and sole discretion with the advice of the board. So next slide will be the review of the application. Thank you. Okay, so again, Eagle County Housing Authority has applied for $3.2 million for the Eagle Villas Apartments project. This is an acquisition and re-syndication project that will preserve 120 units of affordable housing, and it will extend the affordability period 60 years. To meet the estimated 52% of aggregate basis, the project needs approximately $28 million in private activity bonds. And Eagle County will support the project with its full 2024 and 2025 PAB allocations. That amount is just under $7 million. And the project will be supported with other bond cap projected at $8 million. So staff does recommend the full ask of $13.2 million in private activity bonds from the statewide balance to meet 52% of the project's aggregate basis. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? I think there's a phase 1 and a phase 2 of Eagle Villas Apartments, and they're right next to each other, unless I'm having deal merge, which could be the case. Does this property have a Section 8 HAP contract on it?
Let's see.
It might be the other phase.
Yeah, I think it may be. Let's see. Wayne has his hand up.
Yeah, this one, my understanding is that part of the units that they're preserving, the need for the March application was to facilitate the acquisition of the entire site. And that acquisition, we didn't get too much involved in the gap funding as far as application portion of it, but we were making sure that these PABs are going to be used to acquire those units that are having their affordability period come to an end. And so they were at risk of going to market.
Okay. Tori?
Yeah, hi all. This is Tori Franks with the Eagle County Housing and Development Authority. We do not have a Section 8 HAP contract on Eagle Villas. The only Section 8 HAP contract we have in all of Eagle County is called Riverview, which is up in Eagle Vale. But you are right, there were 2 phases of Eagle Villas. One is 100 units, which has its LURA expiring at the end of 2024. And then there's the phase 2, which is the additional 20 units. And I think that LURA sort of expires in, I think, 2047. But the acquisition is for the entire project.
Great. Thanks for that, Tori. That's good. I am very familiar with this project, and I'm glad to see almost $11 million will be put into it in the form of rehab. So, any questions from the board? Okay. Thank you all. We will move on now to the voting stage. Before we get into that, does anyone need to recuse themselves from any of these votes? Okay. Let's go ahead and do them all together then. So I'd like to ask for a motion for approval for Village at Homewood Point, Rifle Apartments, Forest Creek Cabins, Trails at Pagosa, as well as the PAB allocation for Eagle Villas Apartments.
This is Candace. I'd make that motion to approve.
Thanks, Candace.
Second.
Thanks, Sam, for the second. All those in favor signified by an aye or a hand raise.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Great. Thank you all for your support of these wonderful projects. We look forward to seeing you all in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great projects today.